You're being taxed out of gun ownership with the threat of confiscation on the table. And that is what's happening to residents in San Jose, California right now. But if you're in the rest of the country, you need to pay attention to this because this model might be used in your area at some point in time. So in this video, let's talk about what just happened in San Jose and why we need to watch out for this BS here in the future. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about the fact that on June 29th, the San Jose City Council over in good old California voted unanimously to apply an annual tax to gun owners in their city. They're also going to require gun owners to have some form of liability insurance just because they own firearms. Now, this might not sound like a big deal to you, but the biggest issue is that this is going to be enforced with the threat of confiscation on the table, and non-compliance will lead to you losing your firearms, at least according to what they are saying. And this is something we need to watch out for because we know what other parts of the country like to do. They like to see what happens in places like California, and they like to try to apply it in their area if they like what the results are, or even just what the ideology behind it is. And that is something that we need to be concerned with because as prepared people who are worried about being ready for whatever might come our way, we're generally going to be gun owners. And this is something that could affect our ability to be better prepared. So if you're preparing for things to fall apart and you're worried about your ability to be a gun owner in the future, then hit the subscribe button below because they might not like us talking about certain things on this platform, but one thing we can talk about is legislation around those things. And that's something that we're going to always talk about because it's a problem and it's going to create issues all over the place. And once this confiscation situation becomes more of a reality, it could cause some serious complications. So, first and foremost, non-compliance will lead to confiscation, okay? This is something we've talked about for a long time. We'll never confiscate your guns, but they might. And they're gonna try to, and they're gonna authorize law enforcement to do so. And this is why we need to pay attention because San Jose is where Silicon Valley is, and they love to just let you know exactly what their plans are, okay? Mayor Sam Liccardo claims that this new tax would only be like a couple dozen dollars a year, okay? Couple dozen. They don't know what they're gonna tax you. They're not sure what the amount's gonna be, but they know it's not going to be that much. So what's the big deal? The big deal is that nobody has a couple dozen dollars just to throw in the trash can and light on fire. But this is what their thought process is, and it's one more hurdle to becoming a gun owner. If you're not already currently one, it's one more deterrent from you actually going out of your way to try to maybe become a gun owner. And that's one thing they love to do is put little roadblocks in the way to keep, maybe lazier people from actually moving forward. And that's a problem because the more gun owners there are, the better we can expect the results to be if there's ever any legislation that we're allowed to vote on, which according to the ATF, there probably isn't. But anyway, the insurance also will barely cost anything. I don't know what that means, but if you can't give hard numbers or give real data as to what this is going to cost the gun owner, that's going to be an issue. And they're just going to keep pushing this stuff through regardless of the fact that they have no idea how they're going to enforce it or what it's going to cost, okay? There's no official gun registry, so enforcing this is going to be near impossible. Here we go. Why would we need a gun registry? Well, how are we going to enforce these taxes and this insurance requirement without it? Maybe we need one. Wait and see. You'll understand that this gun registry situation is going to come up again, and it's not going to be in the sense of, good thing we don't have one. It's going to be in the sense of something we probably need to be able to enforce this properly, okay? Keep that in mind. Anyway, LEOs will be authorized to confiscate your property when you do not comply in the city of San Jose. Now, it seems a little bit backward from, the oath you swear to the Constitution, but at the same time, that's what they're putting out there. And honestly, a lot of these municipality police departments are more than willing to execute the plans of whatever the city council and the mayor decide on because that's their job technically, right? So, San Jose, keep that in mind. All right, here's a quote that I want to give you, okay, from the mayor of San Jose. And this is where their thought process is, and this is why I want to read this quote to you so you understand exactly what they think and what the whole conversation around non-compliance is going to turn into at some point, okay? Here we go. Crooks aren't going to follow this law. When those crooks are confronted by police and a gun is identified and they haven't paid the fee or insurance, it's a lawful basis for seizure of that gun. End quote, Sam Liccardo, mayor of San Jose. Now, what he's saying is that only criminals aren't going to follow this law. So any gun owner out there who's a law-abiding citizen is going to buy the insurance and pay the fee and pay the taxes and do all the things that they want you to do that you shouldn't have to do. So you're basically a criminal already in their mind unless you comply to whatever whim it is that they want you to bend to. And that is a problem because we all know that a lot of us are not going to just sit there and go, oh yeah, sign me up. Let me pay this tax right now for you. It's exactly what I want to do. This is where it's all heading. And this is why we need to watch out for what's going on over there. Because just because you live in a great state like, I don't know, North Dakota, where you can have access to the firearms you want and you can carry constitutionally as long as you have a driver's license, and they definitely don't tax me for any additional items like ammunition or anything like that, it could happen here. I'm not saying it will, and I'm not saying it's likely, but these things are going to be applied in other places at some point. And then you need to watch out for them and be aware of them and stop just staring at it going, oh, that's just California. Well, the big problem is that out of the millions of gun owners that are out there, only a small percentage actually pay attention to legislation. Only a small percentage actually watch channels like mine or some of the other bigger gun channels that actually give you way more information than what I even do. Like, let's say Mr. Guns and Gear, for example. Those people don't watch those channels and don't learn about any of this. They just comply. And that basic compliance that's going to happen and that data they're going to acquire from that compliance is going to be the justification for why it worked and why everyone else should just do the same thing. And that's a big problem. That's why we have to spread this message and why we have to keep an eye out for what's happening. And apparently my eye is in my temple. But keep this in mind as well. They're not just taxing you on this one little thing. California already requires background check on ammo, which is like $1 every time you buy ammunition. They're starting a 30-day purchase limit on rifles and long guns now, which just started today, I believe, which is crazy because for a long time it was just on handguns. Now you can only buy one gun every 30 days or whatever that new change is. That's how they're doing this. You see what's happening here. And they're pushing legislation right now that's going to charge a 10% tax on handguns, an 11% tax on long guns, ammunition, and precursory parts for those firearms. They're taxing you out of the game. And they're going to keep legislating away little bits and pieces until more and more people from the next generation don't enter the world of gun ownership because it's just too hard. There's too many roadblocks, there's too many hurdles, too many obstacles. It's just a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, a lot of gray area of what's legal and what's not, so I just don't feel like dealing with it. What do I need a gun for anyway? And that's what they're betting on. So do what you can, keep an eye on this, and understand that this is going to happen in other places. It's not something that's just going to go in one city in the country, the city where all of the most influential social media platforms operate, and then just stay there. Trust me. So, wanted to bring this to your attention. I also wanted to make sure you guys understand that just because maybe some of the firearms content isn't going to be the same as it was here before, we're still going to talk about things that matter related to the 2A. So I appreciate your understanding of that and all of your support. And if you need anything else from me ever, you know the deal, magicprepper.com. But add the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. If you're in San Jose or you live in California, tell us about how your hardships are in the sense of being able to operate freely under the 2A. It's very difficult. And I used to live near San Jose, and I actually used to work in San Jose, and I can tell you that I'm glad I don't anymore. So without anything else to say about what's happening right now and how you're being taxed out of gun ownership with confiscation on the table, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.